Okay, good morning. So we're going to try to do a decent amount of Lamed Amud Aleph today. We are up to right now, Skaf Tes Amud Beis. We are literally at the wide lines where the Gemara starts at Shalach Rabitza Bar Giuri. They just pointed out the Taisus here on Skaf Tes Amud Beis. We didn't have a chance to do it yesterday. Look at the last few lines of the Taisus. This is not brought down in the Piskei Taisus, so it's not necessarily brought down at this level in terms of understanding the halacha. Although practically today, I think we do it. At least some people adopt it if they're in a situation where they need to. But look at the last lines of text. They lishkayv the habik kamisha ainlay elachalik echad. Wash kids' clothing. It's necessary. It's like they only have one clothing. Sheish regilas lachaf bigdayim. They always have to constantly change. V'chol shah tzarich and every hour they always need their clothing. And that's why we're generally make on Chol. Think about it until I think in the 40s or 50s, I forget exactly when they developed diapers. All right, before then they never had diapers of that. I don't know if you've ever seen a non-disposable diaper. What the olden day diapers look like. They used to have to wash their diapers. They didn't have like we have today, disposable. So it's constantly have to be washed. Clothing of the kids constantly have to be washed, and therefore there was a certain heter that people were like to wash them. This here is not mentioning that heter applied on the week of Tisha B'av, but again, that was place where you see extra need is really kids' clothing. It becomes very different. People didn't have a lot of clothing today. Obviously, it's a very different kind of a world. People have a lot more clothing. There's disposable diapers, so it's a lot harder to say that it's mutter to do so. Obviously, if it's a situation of exigent need or whatever, consult your local Orthodox rabbi. All right, so going back to the Gemara. So we are now in the wide lines. Shalach Rabbi Yitzchak bar Giure Mishmei Rabbi Yechanan. So we have another memra here and discussing Rabbi Yechanan. Afal pisha amu klei pishtan ein behen mishum giyutz. Even though the linen clothing don't have anything related to giyutz, again, the types of cleaning, I'm not sure what giyutz or kibbutz is exactly, but whatever it is, it's somehow by linen clothing, they don't have this. Nevertheless, nevertheless, it's still prohibited to wear these clothing. Right, this is what we call shvua shachal bay. It's also to wear these clothing on the week that Tisha B'av falls out in it. Amar Rav, lo shanu el lefanav, aval la'achrav muter. The Rav says that this halacha of shvua shachal bay only applies until Tisha B'av, but after Tisha B'av, then everything will be muter. Shmuel Amar fil achrav nami aser, and Shmuel holds that even after Tisha B'av, it's going to be aser. So just as a sort of a prelude to what we're going to be seeing over the next half and a half, is many different opinions as to the minhagim of the week of Tisha B'av and the like. And so it is interesting to see how the development was of the minhag that we have today from all these various different opinions. And there was an opinion, Shmuel holds, that the Isurim of the Shua Shachaba apply even after Tisha B'av. So in a year like this, where you have Tisha B'av fall in the middle of the week, so it's not, well, actually in this year it's going to be a Thursday, but if you would imagine, let's say it fell on a Tuesday, so Shmuel says Atzar Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's also Atzar. That is Shmuel's opinion. Now remember, yesterday we talked to Rabbi Yechanan says that the Tisha B'av should have been potentially on the 10th day, but we started on the 9th day. Why? Because there was no ability to have the people do to do 2 days. So we go after the time when we started the fire. Whether or not the Rabbi Yechon holds the Isham Shem Chitza, etc., that is a separate topic. But fundamentally, do you view the Isurim of Tisha B'av continuing after Tisha B'av? Rav says no. Shmuel says yes. And we always pass on like what? Like Shmuel with Mamanis and Rav when it comes to Issa V'Heter. Yeah. So the Gemara is now going to try to ask a question and slug up Shmuel. Says the Gemara, Mate, I'll ask you a question from a Bryce. Shabbos, Shechal, Tisha B'Av, Li'es B'Seicha, on the week when Tisha B'Av falls out in that week. So what we call Shvur Shechabay, also L'Saper L'Chabes, it's also to haircuts and to wash. Uvechamishi, and on Thursday, Mutar M'nei Kvod Shabbos. And on Thursday, it's going to be mutter because of Kvod Shabbos. So the mom wants to understand, what are we talking about? You say that on Shvur Shechabay, it's us to do laundry, it's us to take haircuts, but on Thursday, it's mutter because of Kvod Shabbos. When exactly is Tisha B'Av? Says the Marquesa, what are we talking about? What is the situation that we say that Thursday it's going to be mutter because of covered Shabbos? Ketzar chal yisbecha b'Shabbos, mutter l'Chabbos, kol Shabbos kula. If Tisha B'Av fell out on Sunday, then there's no real Shvur Shechabay, right? Why not? Because Tisha B'Av is on Sunday, so obviously Shabbos is also to do anything. You can't do anything. So the week before is not Shvur Shechabay, and the week after is already after Tisha B'Av. So if that's the case, that Tisha B'Av is on a Sunday, then really there's no Shvur Shechabay, not before, not it would be totally mutter, and there shouldn't be no discussion about this. Fine. What about B'Sheni, B'Shlishi, B'Revi, B'Chamishi? What if Tisha B'Av fell out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? So lefan of ashal after mutter. Then, according to this brisa, prior to Tisha B'Av, meaning Tisha B'Av fell on a Wednesday, so Monday and Tuesday will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday will be aser, and then Tisha B'Av is on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday it's all mutter. What happens if Chaliyah is be'erev and if Tisha B'Av falls out on Friday? So in other words, Chaliyah be'erev Shabbos of Tisha B'Av fell out on a Friday. Mutzah l'Chabbos b'chamishim mikvod Shabbos. Then is when the situation comes about. We have Thursday. They have a heter to wash because of covered Shabbos. In other words, if Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday, there's no Shvur Shechabay. On Monday you have Sunday. On Tuesday you have Sunday, Monday. On Wednesday you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. On Thursday you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So all those situations you see where there would be an Isser Lefanav, L'Achav it's Mutter. But when you have this Heter on Chamishi, on Thursday, when is it Mutter Me'ek for Shabbos? So if Tisha B'Av fell out on Thursday, what's the Heter? There's no need for the Heter for Shabbos. The Heter is going to be if what we say is if Tisha B'Av fell out on Erev Shabbos, if it fell out on Friday, so then it's Mutter Chabes on Thursday because of covered Shabbos. Meaning, we in our world today can never have Tisha B'Av fall out on a Friday. The only fast that can ever fall on a Friday is the Zarba Tevis. So we're post calendar. So for us, with a calendar, we really don't have an option for this kind of halacha to fall out. But in those days, pre the calendar, that Tisha B'Av could fall out on a Friday. So then, even though normally we say Lefanav is us, and it is us, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, nevertheless on Thursday we're going to have a bit of a heter. I mean, because of the fact that Erev Shabbos you can't do anything, it's Tisha B'Av. So we're going to let you have a little bit of a window on Thursday to do it, because otherwise you're going to come into Shabbos without appropriate wear. And remember, that's already after Tisha B'Av. So the heter is not on Tisha B'Av to do something. The heter is before Tisha B'Av to do something. So again, it says the Gemara, yes, Erev Shabbos, if Tisha B'Av fell out on Erev Shabbos, so then Mutar l'Chabbos b'Chamishi, Mibnei Kvod Shabbos. The Imloi Kibes b'Chamishi b'Shabbos, but the Brisa continues, says the woman, if somebody, whatever, he forgot, he didn't have time, he didn't remember, he didn't, in fact, do the laundry on Thursday, Mutar l'Chabbos b'Erev Shabbos min ha-mincha l'mayla. And he could even do the laundry on Erev Shabbos, which is Tisha B'Av, after Mincha, meaning late in the afternoon. Then he could do the laundry, even though it's Tisha B'Av. Says the Gemara, light Allah Abaya cursed the Item Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Aha. And the Rav Acha Bar Yaakov said that, what do you mean light Allah Abaya? He cursed somebody who would do this. Now, if you remember, it takes in the beginning of Ksubas, brought down the Rashbam. And when the Gemara says Parach Rabachai or Pashat Rabachai, so the Rashbam's famous opinion is that Rabachai was from the Rabbanan Savara. He wasn't an Amira. Whether or not that's correct historically is irrelevant for our point purposes now. But Taisus then brings down Rabbeinu Tam to respond to his brother Rashbam, and Taisus says the Rabbeinu Tam says no. The idea that it says Pasha B'choy or Parcha B'choy doesn't mean that because he has his own lashon that the Gemara is referring to somebody in a way to try to make you know that to clue you in that he's an Amayra. No, I'm sorry that he's a Rabbanan Savarite. No, that's not the case. It says Rabbeinu Tam. The Rabbeinu Tam. The reason it says Pasha B'chai or Parcha B'chai, that is a hint that there was a person who was typhus a certain kind of lashon. So one of the things that we know about Abai is Laidal Abai. You find out at times in Shas Abai would curse people who did certain things, and happens to be in this situation, right? We're saying that what was Abai cursing? Cursing somebody who would have not done the laundry on Thursday and waited till Friday, which is Erev Shabbos, on Tisha B'Av, to do the laundry. That Abai curse. Somebody shouldn't do that. They should be more responsible and not to be waiting to such a, to the last second. Fine. So what do you see from this brisa? Before we go any further, right? We're gonna obviously see from this brisa that you see that the brisa was pretty clearly saying that it was aser lefanav, but la'achav was mutter, meaning after Tisha B'av, it's not aser anymore. What did Shmuel say? Shmuel said that la'achav it's also aser. This brisa is going to end up being a kasha on Shmuel, who wanted to say that the isurim that apply before Tisha B'av apply the whole week, even after Tisha B'av. This brisa is going to be a question on that. But before we get to asking the question on Shmuel, we keep on going in the brisa. Brisa has another very interesting halacha. It says the brisa chal yes b'sheni v'chamishi. What happens when Tisha B'av falls out on Monday and Thursday? Karen shloshim after echad. You read 3 aliyahs and 1 maftir, right? If you look at Rashi here for a second, the word maftir, Rashi says, May Aisan Shloisha, from among the 3 aliyahs that we have, you have an achrain, right? Maftir. They have the last one, the last aliyah, the 3rd aliyah is called a maftir. Right? We obviously are not increasing the amount of aliyahs during Monday and Thursday for more than 3. And we don't increase the amount of aliyahs from Rosh Chodesh more than 4. If we only increase the aliyahs on Shabbos and Yantiv. So if you're a Haimish person, then this is a great source, the Gemara there in Megillah, that says that you're allowed to add an aliyahs on Shabbos and Yantiv, right? If you only grew up with 7 and that's your Harg Valyavar, forget this Gemara. But that is, definitely Monday and Thursday we don't add any aliyahs. Says Taisvis, look at this Gemara as a proof to the following. It says Taisus, if you look at the bottom Taisus, that you can still call the maftir for the minyan shiva. The Gemara Machlekes there in the Gemara Megillah, whether the maftir is the minyan shiva or not. In other words, on Shabbos, if you notice, we always have 8 aliyahs because the maftir repeats over a little bit from the 7th aliyah. But do you have to do that? Can you just do 7 aliyahs and have the maftir be the 7th aliyah? Says Taisus, yeah. Look what we say on Monday and Thursday. On Tisha B'Av is what? We're calling the 3rd aliyah the maftir. So if they call the 3rd aliyah the maftir, then it must be, says Taisus, arrive from this Gemara to the question of the Gemara there in Megillah, that in fact the 7th person can also be the maftir. You don't have to have an 8th aliyah. That's Rabbeinu Tam's proof from this Gemara. Beautiful proof. The maftir means the Gemara current sholosh maftir echad. Shemaftir echad and agimel. The maftir is one of the 3 because the Kamban Megillah. That was a question of the Gemara in the Megillah. Maftir arlo leminin shiva eloi. Mash mehafad da. Let's go from this Gemara that you are arlo leminin shiva. Yeah. The whole idea of how the maftir came about is according to most Rishonim was at times of gezeris. Sometimes they were gezer not to have shema. Right, so we ended up having Shema in the kedusha of Keser. Right, why would they be against saying Shema but La'yidam Shema Esra? I can't explain. I have no idea. But they were very demanding about certain gezeres. So we say Shema Yisrael in the middle of Keser or Naritzvah. If the same thing is potentially happened as well as it relates to laning, that there was times they made these gezeres about not laning. And so as a result, so you can't learn the Chumash, so they started to read the Haftarah. They started to read something from Nevi'im that would be a reminder of what would that be the weekly Sedra, and that they were okay with. So once the Gezeres are gone, we don't take, we're particular, right? So the fact that Shema is now permitted, no, we're not taking it out of Kedusha, and most of we keep it. The fact that Lenin is permitted, that's okay. We still read the Nevi'im. We're not taking it away. But in order to sort of, you know, give somebody who's going to have to now do the Haftarah, which is no longer necessary at all, so you want to give him something. So you give him a little bit of a laning from the parsha. You give him something, right? That's why it's only a few psukim, whatever. It's not a necessary thing. So the question then becomes, right? If the mafter is Oila Laminian Shiva, if it can come be a part of the seven or not. Historically, obviously, it had nothing to do with the seven. It was something that was a replacement for the seven. That's why in that most haftarahs you always have 21 psukim. It's not 100% sure. Don't ask me, yeah, but in this, Parashas Kedoshim, the haftarah is shorter. And yes, it's true. There are certain haftarahs that don't hit 21 psukim, but most times you will see that sometimes we're reading on in a haftarah that doesn't make sense. Why are we starting here or there? It's to get you to 21. Why? Again, that was one of the reminders to show you that this is not a real laning. Every aliyah we already had in kindness needs to have three, right? The minimum of reading a pasuk. So you add in, since it's a replacement for the Torah, which hadn't been read. So those are seven aliyahs times three for each one. So that's 21 psukim. That's why the minimum of the haftarah is generally, again, not in all cases, tried to be 21 psukim. Obviously, there are times like B'Shalach or situations like where you have massive haftarahs way more than 21, but that's at least the minimum. Again, with a couple of very notable exceptions. Okay, so we have a bit of a side topic on this. The more than continues, interesting. According to the Tanakama, on if Tishba fell out on Tuesday or Wednesday, and I assume the same is true on Sunday or Friday, but we don't specifically mention that, but I assume it's true for the whole week. Then according to the Tanakama, we actually only have one aliyah, right? Because remember that the takana of Ezra is to make sure you don't go 3 days without laning. So you have Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos. That 3 days takes care of the whole week. You never go 3 days without laning. But since Tuesday, Wednesday, and again, I'm assuming Sunday, Friday as well, since those are not regular days to lane, you can just do one aliyah and it's fine. Rabbi Yossi no, la'olam karen shloishim after echad. You always do three. There's not whenever you have a laning, you always have three aliyahs. You never have less than three aliyahs. Says the Gemara. You up to the Shmuel. So now going back to our topic, this is a question on Shmuel. Why is it a question on Shmuel? Because you see here that lefanav aser b'la'achrav mutter. It's only aser before Tisha B'av. It's not aser after Tisha B'av. Says the more Amalach Shmuel Tanoi. Shmuel doesn't disagree and say that this price is against them. He does agree that this price is against them, but he says it's really a machlekes Tanoim. You should understand that there are opinions that hold like me, right? And there are opinions that disagree with me. I was going with one opinion that said that even after on the Shua Shachalbe, the whole week is Aser. There's a Tana like that as well. What is the source? Let's follow. The Tanya, we have a brisa. The brisa teaches us Tisha B'av Shachal Liyos B'Shabbos. Tisha B'av that fell out on Shabbos. V'chein erev Tisha B'av Shechal Yis B'Shabbos. So Tisha B'av that falls out on Sunday. Either way, right? Tisha B'av is going to be on Sunday because we don't fast on Shabbos, right? So in either one of these situations, whether Sunday is Tisha B'av or Sunday is at Nidcha, on either case, Oichel B'Shoiseh Kol Tzarchoi, he's able to eat on Shabbos as he likes. Umayla al Suchan Afil Kesura Shlem B'Shaitai, and he can even eat on his table like Suda Shlem B'Shaitai. Right, this is one of the more difficult psukim to understand in the Navi about Shlomo Melech. Obviously, the idols, the woman, is all. But one of the things that has always, been mind-boggling is the food, the sheer amount of food. Now, it could be a guzma, it could be that we're not literally meaning it, but I mean literally shechting, a daily fear, the daily fear of Shlomo there in Melachim, like 1,000 bulls and 1,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. Like it's probably metaphoric because just impossible to imagine anyone eating that kind of food or just the sheer amount of waste is mind-boggling. In any event, what we're trying to get across when we say afilu kisuda shlem v'shayda, which is brought down in halacha mamish, right? If Tisha B'av is Sunday, right? So that last meal you're eating shal shudas on Shabbos, You could have a few keseuda shleima v'shaita, right? It's brought down a halacha like that. You want to have a nice huge meal, you could do that. Says the Gemara, and Rameir holds that it's usher to take a haircut or to wash from Rosh Chodesh Av until 9 Av, right? V'ad b'chal, right? But that's it. So you start out the Isser like we would do from Rosh Chodesh all the way until Tisha B'av. Rabbi Yehuda in Merkala Chodesh Kulei Aser. Rabbi Yehuda says the whole month of Av is Aser. It's not just Aser until Tisha B'av. The whole month is Aser. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer Ene Aser Ela Aser Shabbos Bilvad. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says that the whole Shabbos is Aser. What do you mean the whole Shabbos is Aser? It's Aser the whole week, meaning it's Aser before Tisha B'av, and it's Aser after Tisha B'av through the end of the week. And now we see what is our source for Shmuel, because you see opinions, both Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yehuda hold that after Tisha B'av is Aser. Okay, Shmuel doesn't go all the way for the whole month, but Shmuel does say that after Tisha B'av for the remainder of the week it remains Aser. Again, we understand at least the 10th. That's obvious because Rabbi Yochanan saying that the 10th is really the real day. But we can't do it that way because we can't have 2 days and we have to start with the day that starts the fires and all that. Fine. But it's sure if Tisha B'Av fell on a Sunday and Monday, it would be the 10th. But what about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? No, Shmuel says go out the whole week. We have Chief of the Shmuel, the fun of us, Achram Mutter. No, here you have a Bryson, two opinions. Rabbi Huda, I'm sure let's say no, even afterwards it's Usher, and it's Usher either for the end of the week or until the end of the month. So we have now a source for understanding Shmuel. Says the Gemara. V'tanya idach, and we have another Bryson that says that what that the Eva that we have for Tisha B'av is Merish Chodesh v'ad HaTainus. It's going to be applicable from Merish Chodesh until the Tainus. The Rameir, again, same idea. Rameir holds what we just said before, the similar idea. It goes from Merish Chodesh till the Tainus, not just Shul Shachabah. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Kol HaChodesh Kulei Aser, the whole month. Hashem Gamliel Aimer Ein Aser Shabbos Bilvad. And Shmuel says again the same thing, that the whole week is Aser both before and after. So you have the same. This is a very similar verse, but says the same thing, same opinion, same people brought down. Rabbi Yochanan says Ushlashta Mikra Echad Darshu. They're all coming at this of their three opinions from one pasuk. What is that? Techsiv Veishbatikom Misaisa Chagah Chodsha Shabbatah. Right, the pasuk there in the beginning of Shea says that I'm going to stop. Veishbati is like a Shabbos. I'm going to rest, but in this case, it's not a good rest. Right, I'm going to stop. What? Misaisa, right? All your joy. Chaga, Chodsha, v'Shabbata. Right? Chaga is like a moed, like a holiday. Chodsha is like the Chodesh, and Shabbata is the week. Nothing more darshan like this. Says the Mamadam, Amerish Chodesh Velatainis. When does Reb Meir say that it's? Why does Reb Meir say that it's us from Rosh Chodesh until the fast has returned to Lamed Amud Aleph? Is how did he get that mechaga? Because it said from the holiday, and remember, one of the holidays is Rosh Chodesh, right? The pasuk told us the Baruch Ba'aloiska, V'yem Simchaschem, V'yadechem, V'ashechot Shechem, right? It's with nichla with those things, or as the Gemara said in the Chav Tes, Korlai Mayed, right? We're talking about the Chodesh. So according to Meir, Chaga refers to the Chodesh, and that's why it's Asar Merish Chodesh ad Tisha B'av. Umanda Amar Kol HaChodesh Kulei Asar, according to Manda Amar, that holds that it's Asar a whole month, meaning from the beginning of Av until the end of Av, no break. So that he got that from where? Mechadsha. Right? That's Asar from the word Chadsha in the pasuk, the whole month. Well, that's what it means that it's going to stop. Umanda Amar Kol Shabbos Kula Asar, and according to Manda Amar, holds that the whole Shabbos is Asar, meaning Shvur Shachabah is Asar the whole week, both before and after Tisha B'av. Where do they get that from? Could said Mishabata. From it says on Shabbos, so the whole Shabbos is Asar. Yeah. So each one of these ends up having a source. Amar Rava, Zog Rava, Halacha Rab Shimon Gamliel. The halacha is like Rab Shimon Gamliel. V'Amar Rava, Halacha Rab Meir. The halacha is like Rab Meir. So we're going both with Rab Shimon Gamliel and Rab Meir, right? Imagine if we were living in Rabbi Yehuda's world. Right? And the whole month will be Asr, to be taking a haircut, to be doing laundry, right? This will be very hard on us. So we don't pass like that. We pass like says Rava, like Rav Shimon Gamliel, and like Rav Meir. What do you mean? So what is the Rava trying to tell us? Says the Gemara like this. And both of these were being used to explain it why we go lakula. What do we mean like this? The Ashmin halacha Rab Meir. If you said that the halacha was in fact like Rab Meir, which means what? That the Isser is from Rosh Chodesh until Tisha B'Av. Hava Amina Afil Rosh Chodesh. I would think that it's mamish then also from Rosh Chodesh. Kamash V'lan halacha Rab Shimon Gamliel. That's why we say that halacha is also like Rab Shimon Gamliel. Meaning that when is it Asr? Only from Shvuah Shechalba. It is Asr before Tisha B'Av, but not from Rosh Chodesh. Only Shabbos of Tisha B'Av, meaning only Shvuah Shechalba. And if you said that halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that what? Then it's also Shvuah Shechalba. Then you would think what? Have I mean afilu la'acharav? I would think that even it's Asr after Tisha B'Av because he says the whole week is Asr. Kamash Malon halacha Rav Meir. That's why you have to say halacha like Rav Meir. So you end up in a situation that one's an Asr, Shvuah Shechalba until Tisha B'Av. That's it. It's only Asr because, like Rameir said, it's only Asr until the ninth day of Av, and it's also only Asr Shvuah Shechavah. So we go like the leniency in Rameir's approach that it ends on Tisha B'Av, and we go with the leniency of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel that says that it only starts the Isser on Shvuah Shechavah. That's how the Gemara comes out. So now, before we go any further, let's look at Tosfos for a moment. Tosfos, top Tosfos on Lamed. So Tosfos says. He just explains the beginning part of Tosfos, just explains our Gemara, like I just said it outside. So we'll skip that, and I'll go in the narrow lines, about 5-6 lines from the bottom of Tosfos. It says, "Mikol Makim Hichmer Lanu Marenu Rashi." Right. Nevertheless, our rabbi, our teacher Rashi, was Machmer. Lases Sadinan Shalano Lichbais Isa Shavua Shaya by Tes Ba'av Kerem Tainus. Aval Heicha Dechal Tes Ba'av. V'hei b'Shabbos mutar beis u'saper mechatzos ve'elech. Right, if Tisha B'Av fell on Thursday, then it will be mutar to start doing laundry from after Chatzos on Tisha B'Av. Mimnei kavod Shabbos. They in lahamtin and have Shabbos and they tear Shabbos. You shouldn't wait till Friday after Tisha B'Av because of the tirchas of Shabbos is very busy. You have to run around and preparing for Shabbos. So what is this Taisa saying? It's mind-boggling, and the Beis Yosef goes crazy. And Tough Kuf and then Aleph, Beis Yosef says, "What is this Taisa? I don't understand." Right? What did we say before about Layat Allah Abaya? Right? If Tisha B'Av fell out on Friday, that people should do the laundry on Thursday, and if they didn't, they can do it on Friday after the mincha. And Abaya's like, no. This is like not a good situation. We got to curse those people. No, you make sure you do it on Thursday. We'll give you a little bit of heter on Thursday. But it sounds like from over here that if Tisha B'Av fell out not on Friday, if Tisha B'Av fell out on Thursday, we'll let you do laundry on Thursday because Friday you're busy preparing for Shabbos. No, you'll figure it out. Let's do it on Friday. So it's mind-boggling. But in any event, what I wanted to really look at is not because it's practical halacha. We don't do it. Obviously, and today with all the laundry abilities that we have, none of this is relevant. Again, unless it's an accident situation, we all have enough clothing to get by. You don't. I shouldn't say we all, but hopefully we all have enough undershirts to get by. The week of Seish. But if you're Sephardim, you don't need to go back. You don't need to go back to from Rosh Chodesh. So they hold only from Rosh Chodesh. Ashkenaz more Machmer, we go back to Rosh Chodesh. But anyway, like I say, these days with everybody sort of having enough undershirts, it's not like such an excellent situation. We'll just mention here if you look in the Rush, so the Rush is very interesting. Rushes and Mordechai's, and they're always very interesting. But the thing how Tisha B'Av sort of became a whole development. It's very, very fascinating topic. I just want to show you one rush over here that again it becomes very, very practical. Halacha l'maisa machlokes between against Sfardim and Ashkenazim and the like. So everybody's familiar with the notion of not having public aveilus, right, on Shabbos, right? But B'tzina, then that's okay. So if you look over here I'm looking at the rush in Siman Lamed Beis, so that would be in the fourth parak, Siman Lamed Beis. The rush says as following. He says, Tisha B'Av Shechal Dios, meaning about 5 or 6 lines up from the bottom. Tisha B'Av Shechal Dios b'Shabbos. The Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos. And then Shnei Shabbos is Mutar, and then there's really no issues at all because there's no Shua Shechal by the week before is Mutar, and the week after is now it's Mutar because the Nidcha just on Sunday will be Asar. Came Shnidcha Taanit Had Yom Rishon leHav Shabbos Shechal Tisha B'Av Liyos B'Seicha. So there's no real Shabbos. What happens? He brings down a Tosefta Chaliyos Teshaba B'Shabbos Echel Adam Kol Tzarcha Ma'al Shulchan Afi Kesud Shlem B'Shaitei Ve'enei Meinei Ma'atz Meiklum. He doesn't have to stop himself from eating or doing anything. He can do whatever he normally does. It's no problem at all. Even if he wants to have a big meal than he normally eats. Right? Because remember, Tisha B'Av is coming up. It's not a problem. You want to sing Zmiris on Tisha B'Av, Mersha Teshuva, you can sing Zmiris. You want to sing an Achamus, whatever you want, it's fine. Not an issue. Mark is not start the Isra Tisha B'Av until Motzei Shabbos. Kloimer she'ena nimna merachitz of sikh v'tasha shemita ve'ena tzarich l'nhag dvarim shel tzina. That you don't have to wear on that Shabbos. That is even as if it's Tisha B'Av and it's being a nidcha, you don't have to stop yourself from anything that you would have normally done, and you don't have to be neig dvarim shel tzina, meaning that a person can even have intimate relations on that Shabbos. Says the Marami Rothenberg. He wrote in his Hilchos Avelis that he quotes a Ritza Vienna, the Tisha B'Av Shechal Dias B'Shabbos Alpha Bisha and Deichen Eisen Ad Lamachar Asar Eisei Ayim Asar Tasha Shamita. Immediately the Havak of Amresa Beregel. It's like somebody who buried his dead on Yantiv. Sha'anu Deichen Avelis Aracha Regel. That we are Deichen Avelis till after Yantiv. Afil Hachin Neg Dvam Shabbat Sena Beregel. Imkein Hachanami Gabi Shabbos Zu. Right, Gabi Tisha B'Av, which is falling out on Shabbos, Havi Karego, V'Asa B'Tash Shemitah. And this, in fact, is brought down as halacha machlokes between Ashkenazim and Sephardim, right? According to the Machaber, it's mutter. According to the Ramah, it's aser. Of course, even the Ramah is megal if it will be letzvila or something like that. Okay. Don't really have so much more time to do a lot more. Just mentioned the next line in the rush is Tisha B'Av v'Avel Shaychi Ahadadi. Tisha B'Av and Avelos have a lot of similarities. We're going to come into that in the Gemara as we go further here on Lamed. So we'll have to go back to the Gemara just to finish up a little more, but maybe we'll do some more of the rush tomorrow. So says the Gemara, we're at the 2 dots. Erev Tisha B'Av lo yochel on the base tafshilin. And on Erev Tisha B'Av, a person's not supposed to have 2 tafshilin. That's what the Mishnah said. What is it? What are we talking about? 2 tafshilin. So it says in where as follows: Rabbi Yehuda lo shano elam sheish. That's only meaning from 6 hours and on. That after in the afternoon, one son to have 2 tafshilin. But earlier than the 6 hours, of course, then it's mutter. And Rabbi Yehuda says something else. That's only talking about they shouldn't have 2 tafshilin by the suda, which is going to be mafsekes. But the suda which is going to what? Not be mafsik, but meaning you're going to eat a regular suda, then it's no problem to have the shnei tafshilin. And we're going to go again, trying to explain everything here. This is what we mean. If you would have said that the only time that it's asr is by the suda, which is mafsik, then I might have thought then maybe even earlier in the day it would have been asr. That's only asr from 6 hours and on. But earlier than that is entirely mutter. And if I would have said that from 6 hours and on is when it's asr, then I would think even in the suda where you're not being mafsik will be asr to have the shnei tafshilin, the suda ha-mafsik ba. So that teaches us that the only time that's actually asr to have the shnei tafshilin is in the suda, which is actually mafsik ba. When you're not going to be eating, as Rashi says, if you look at Rashi, you have mafsik ba. The shuv eina oichel oid me oisa suda ve'elf. That you're not going to be eating anything else on after that. Tanya Kalishna Kama, Tanya Kalishna Basra. We have a brisa that goes both with the first opinion and with the second opinion. What do we mean? Tanya Kalishna Basra. We have a brisa that goes with the last opinion. Hasayat Erev Tisha B'Av. If somebody's having a meal on Erev Tisha B'Av, im asid lisoid su'uda acheres. if he's going to eat another meal, meaning a Suda Hamafsik Ba, then Mutul Echel Basar Lishtas Yayin, he's allowed to have meat and drink wine. Right, again, this is not our custom anymore on Tisha B'Av, but as I said, there are many different opinions that are given. Remember, they also used to be drinking wine as their water in those days, so it was much more necessary than it is today for us. But the mutal echal basar, that is interesting, right? He's able to eat meat, which for us becomes usher now during Tisha B'Av. I'm sorry, during the week before Tisha B'Av. So mutal echal basar, I'm not saying it's a mitzvah to make a siyum. It's you could make a siyum. We're finishing, so we have to make a siyum, but it's not a requirement. And when I say have to, I'm just making sure everyone who ever listens to this, that was in quotation marks. We can, we're permitted to. It's a mitzvah to make a siyum, absolutely. More in Shabbos on Kuf Yotes Abaya. It's actually Abaya there. Abaya would provide the money for a siyum for anybody who finished the Masechta. Hi, my servant Merabana that finished the Masechta, he'd make a siyum for them. So there's certainly an Indian in that. But today it became maybe a mitzvah like midaraisa to have a siyum every night of the week before Tisha B'Av, and that I don't see anyone bringing that down. Okay, so says the Gemara. So if a person is going to have a suda hamafzik ba, means he's going to have another suda afterwards. Mutal echal basar l'shtasyan. He could have a regular meal now. V'im lav asal echal basar l'shtasyan. If not, if this is really a suda hamafzik, then it's also. So this will be a raya to the opinion that says of Rabbi Huda that in the suda hamafzik, but it's also to have shein tafshil, and that would be similar to this. Taanit lishna kama. We have another brayse that's mashmak the lishna kama is what. That as follows: Erev Tisha B'Av lo yochel am shnei tafshila, and a person is not supposed to eat two tafshil on Erev Tisha B'Av. Lo yochel basav lo yishta yayin. He shouldn't be having meat or drinking wine. It sounds like from here what? It's mashma the whole day will be aser, right? It will be not just lamaila, even lamata. The whole day it's mamish aser to have that. Rav Shimon Gamliel, I remember Yishan. Rav Shimon Gamliel has a different opinion. He says you should just change. Right? You're supposed to change what you do on Erev Tisha B'Av. Right? How do you change? Right? How do you change? And again, Rabbi Shimon already said the whole week is Aser, so we have to understand what that would mean to change in Erev Tisha B'Av exactly. Rabbi Huda says the whole month is Aser. So Rabbi Huda Ketza Mishana, how do you change? What do you change? Im Haya Ragel La'achol Shnei Tavshilin. If a person would normally eat two Tavshilin, Yechol Min Echol, let him eat one. If you would normally have a meal with 10 people, let him have a meal with 5. If you would normally drink 10 cups of wine, and I'm not sure what we're talking about here, but then I mean, that still sounds insane, but all right, he has 5 cups of wine. When is this talking about? That's from 6 hours and on. But from the beginning part of the day, the first 6 hours, that would be mutter. All right, we have to stop over here. But again, you see here two opinions in Rabbi Yehuda. We're going Tavar Lakula that basically the Issa comes in terms of the eating on the Suda Hamafsik Ba, not before that. All right, we have to stop.